What if toy commercials were not interruptions, but the most important moments of a child's entire day? In the 1980s, toy commercials were not background noise. They were not something kids ignored while waiting for their shows to come back on. They were moments that stopped everything. Kids leaned forward. Parents noticed the room suddenly go quiet. Eyes stayed locked on the screen. These commercials didn't just sell toys. They sold excitement. They sold imagination. They sold the feeling that something amazing was waiting just beyond the screen. For many kids, these commercials were their first exposure to storytelling, branding, and fantasy. They taught kids what adventure looked like, what fun sounded like, and what kinds of toys were worth dreaming about. This video ranks the best toy commercials of the 1980s, not just based on popularity, but based on impact. These are the commercials that shaped how kids played, how they imagined stories, and how they remembered their childhood. Stay until the end because the #1 commercial on this list didn't just sell toys. It permanently changed how toy companies spoke to kids, and its influence is still felt decades later. The list begins at number 10. Number 10 is Pound Puppies. Pound Puppies commercials worked because they understood emotion better than almost any other toy ad of the decade. While most commercials were loud and fast, Pound Puppies slowed everything down. The screen often showed a single puppy sitting quietly, sometimes alone, sometimes waiting. There was no rush, there was no chaos. Then a child appeared. The moment the child picked up the puppy, the entire tone of the commercial changed. The puppy wasn't just a toy anymore, it was a friend. It was something that needed care, attention, and love. Soft music played in the background. The voices were gentle. The message was never shouted. These commercials made kids feel responsible. They made kids feel kind. They made kids feel important. Instead of asking kids to want something, the commercials made kids feel needed. That emotional connection was incredibly powerful. By the time the commercial ended, the toy was already part of the child's world. That is why Pound Puppies stood out in a decade full of noise. Number 9 is Light Bright. Light Bright commercials understood something most toy ads ignored. Silence and darkness could be just as powerful as sound and color. The commercial often began with the screen going dark. No music, no shouting. Then small points of light appeared. Colors slowly formed shapes, letters, and images. The glow felt magical, almost secret, like something only the viewer was meant to see. Kids were shown sitting quietly, focused, carefully placing pegs and watching their creations light up the darkness. The narration was calm and confident. There was no urgency, no pressure to compete. Light Bright commercials promised creativity without rules. They promised that imagination didn't need noise to matter. That calm confidence made the toy feel special. It felt different from everything else on television. Decades later, people still remember the glow. Number 8 is My Little Pony. My Little Pony commercials sold imagination long before imagination-driven marketing became common. The ads introduced the ponies as characters, not objects. Each pony had a name, a color, and a personality. Kids were shown brushing hair, arranging scenes, and creating stories. There was no racing, no battling, no winners or losers. The music was gentle, the colors were bright but soft. The entire world felt welcoming. These commercials sent a clear message. Play didn't have to be loud to be exciting. It could be thoughtful. It could be creative. The ponies felt like they belonged to a living world, one that could grow and change based on imagination. That sense of world building is what allowed My Little Pony to grow far beyond toys and become a lasting franchise. Number 7 is G.I. Joe, a real American hero. G.I. Joe commercials felt intense from the very first second. Explosions filled the screen. Vehicles raced across deserts and jungles. Heroes jumped from helicopters and stormed enemy bases. A commanding voice explained the mission with urgency and confidence. The toys were never treated like toys. They were heroes, soldiers, leaders. Every movement felt important. Every battle felt serious. Each commercial introduced new characters, vehicles, and equipment. The world expanded constantly. Kids weren't just watching toys being played with. They were watching missions unfold. These commercials made kids feel powerful. They weren't pretending. They were commanding elite teams. That sense of importance is what made G.I. Joe commercials unforgettable. Number 6 is Hungry Hungry Hippos. Hungry Hungry Hippos commercials were chaos on purpose. From the first moment, everything moved fast. Music blasted, kids shouted, marbles flew everywhere. 4 kids crowded around the game, slamming levers as hard as they could. There was no calm moment, no quiet second. The commercials didn't explain the rules because they didn't need to. The fun was obvious. The excitement felt real. It felt messy, it felt uncontrollable. Kids watching could instantly imagine themselves at that table, laughing, yelling, and competing. Hungry Hungry Hippos commercials worked because they captured pure energy. Nothing else was needed. Number 5 is Transformers. Transformers commercials changed the rules of toy advertising. They often began with animated battles between massive robots. Explosions filled the screen. Music played loudly and confidently. Then something unexpected happened. The animation cut to real toys transforming in kids' hands. That moment was powerful. It made the fantasy real. The robots weren't just characters on a screen anymore. They existed in the living room. The theme song locked the brand into memory. The visuals sold belief. Transformers commercials didn't just end when the ad ended. They started something bigger. They launched a universe that expanded into cartoons, comics, and eventually movies. All of it began with commercials that made kids believe the toys were alive. Number 4 is He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. He-Man commercials were bold, dramatic, and confident. Heroes stood tall and shouted powerful lines. Villains threatened destruction. Music swelled with intensity. The world was clear. Good versus evil. Strength versus darkness. Every character felt important. Every figure had a role in the battle. The commercials encouraged collecting, but more importantly, they encouraged imagination. Each new figure expanded the story. He-Man commercials defined what fantasy action toys looked like in the 1980s. They were dramatic. They were memorable. They were impossible to ignore. Number 3 is Barbie Dreamhouse. Barbie Dreamhouse commercials sold possibility. The ads showed massive houses filled with rooms, furniture, elevators, and accessories. The camera moved slowly, allowing viewers to take everything in. Kids were shown designing rooms, hosting parties, and creating stories. Nothing felt rushed. The dream house didn't feel like a toy. It felt like a place. That sense of scale made the commercials powerful. Kids didn't just want to play, they wanted to live inside the imagination. That approach helped Barbie remain one of the most successful toy brands of all time. Number 2 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles commercials were explosive. Fast music, fast cuts, bright colors. The turtles jumped, kicked, and battled villains non-stop. Catchphrases hit quickly and loudly. The commercials perfectly matched the cartoon's energy. Fun, action, and humor blended together. Kids already loved the characters. The commercials turned that love into obsession. Toys sold out. Merchandise flooded stores. These ads helped launch one of the biggest pop culture moments of the late 1980s. Before continuing the countdown, it helps to understand why 80s toy commercials felt so different from anything that came after. During the 1980s, toy commercials were not competing with phones, tablets, or streaming platforms. Television was the main event. When commercials came on, kids were already watching. That gave toy companies a rare opportunity. They didn't have to fight for attention. They just had to capture imagination. Most of these commercials followed a simple but powerful formula. First, they showed a world that felt exciting or comforting. Then, they placed the toy inside that world. Finally, they made the child feel like ownership meant control. That feeling of control mattered. Kids weren't just watching someone else play. They were being invited to step into the story themselves. This is why so many 80s toy commercials focused on worlds instead of features. They didn't explain how toys worked. They showed what life felt like with the toy. That emotional approach is why these commercials stayed memorable long after the toys themselves broke or disappeared. Another reason these commercials work so well is pacing. Modern ads move fast because attention spans are short, but 80s toy commercials often slowed down just enough to let ideas sink in. They lingered on moments. They repeated visuals. They allowed imagination to fill the gaps. Kids had time to picture themselves in the scene. That pacing made the commercials feel bigger than their runtime. It also explains why so many people remember these ads decades later, even if they no longer remember every toy they owned. These commercials didn't just show fun, they explained what fun looked like. They taught kids how to play. They showed who the heroes were, what adventure meant, and how imagination was supposed to work. That influence cannot be overstated. Toy commercials in the 1980s didn't just react to culture, they shaped it. They defined what playtime looked like for an entire generation. That is why ranking these commercials matters. not because of nostalgia, but because of impact. Every commercial on this list understood one core idea. If a child could imagine the story, the toy would sell itself. That idea connects every entry on this countdown. Whether the tone was quiet or loud, calm or chaotic, the goal was the same. Create a moment that lived longer than the commercial itself. That is the standard every great 80s toy commercial met. And with that in mind, the countdown continues. Number 1 is Lego. Lego commercials didn't shout, they inspired. Kids were shown building castles, cities, vehicles, and creatures, then tearing them apart and building something new. There were no rules, no limits, no right answers. The commercials didn't tell kids what to build. They showed what could be built. That message respected creativity. It trusted imagination. That trust is why Lego outlasted nearly every other toy brand from the decade. The best 80s toy commercials all understood one truth. Kids didn't just want toys. They wanted worlds they could control. They wanted stories they could create. They wanted imagination without limits. These commercials didn't just sell products. They shaped childhood memories that still exist today. And just like that, the golden age of toy commercials faded away. It is also important to understand how these commercials changed the way kids talk to each other. In the 1980s, toy commercials didn't stay on television. They followed kids to school, to playgrounds, and into conversations with friends. Kids repeated catchphrases they heard in commercials. They reenacted scenes they had just watched. They compared toys based on what they saw advertised, not just what they owned. In many cases, kids who didn't own the toy still knew exactly how it worked, because the commercial taught them. That made these ads powerful social tools. They didn't just influence individual kids, they shaped group behavior. If a commercial was exciting enough, it became a shared reference point. Everyone knew it, everyone talked about it. That kind of influence is rare today. Another reason these commercials were so effective is because they respected repetition. Many of the most iconic 80s toy commercials aired over and over again with only small changes. The same music, the same structure, the same message. That repetition burned the ideas into memory. Kids didn't get bored, they got familiar, and familiarity created desire. The commercials became comforting, predictable, almost ritual-like. Seeing the same toy commercial again and again didn't feel annoying. It felt reassuring. That consistency built trust, and trust made imagination stronger. There was also something important about how these commercials ended. Most of them didn't feel finished. They showed just enough action or just enough story to spark curiosity, then they stopped. That unfinished feeling forced kids to continue the story on their own. Playtime became the ending. That design choice was intentional, and it worked. These commercials weren't complete stories, they were invitations. Invitations to imagine more. Invitations to create something personal. That is why they stayed powerful long after the screen went dark. When people remember 80s toy commercials today, they aren't just remembering what they saw, they're remembering what they imagined afterward. That is the true legacy of these ads. These commercials didn't just sell products, they shaped childhood memories that still exist today. And just like that, the golden age of toy commercials faded away. There is one last reason these commercials mattered so much. For many kids, these ads were the first time they saw imagination treated seriously. The commercials didn't talk down to kids, they spoke directly to them. They assumed kids understood stories, choices, and consequences. They trusted kids to imagine more than what was shown on screen. That kind of respect made the experience feel bigger. It made playtime feel important. And that feeling is why these commercials are still remembered today.